Welcome back to
Buckle up, baby.
episode 46, a really good one. Late night session, Michael.
Yes.
In this episode, we covered a range of topics, and we really delved deep into creativity, the creative process, what drives us, what really matters to us.
Mm-hmm. Back to basics.
Back to basics.
And then we talked about Milo Yiannopoulos, Kanye,
Yes.
Tim Pool.
Yes. We closed on the recent events of the
Yeah,
day.
we closed on some current events.
We spent a lot of time on personal things and the personal process.
Yeah, this is like a late night sesh. You can't see out the window, but like it's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe, and it got deep.
Yeah.
It got real.
So
stay tuned.
enjoy. Hit that smash button.
Smash that
Smash
follow
that hit button.
Michael is he's like an anti-influencer. A Buckle Up episode 46. We hope you enjoy. So I was just saying that as we see this same old story of actors and people in show business who wash up at the end, watching, we were just talking about it, but
I'll tell the story. Well, Christina, is that her name?
yeah, you were saying you saw something that
She, the co-host of Your Mom's House, was on Tim Dillon's Patreon episode, and she was asking why watching Madonna's Instagram makes her so depressed.
yeah.
And Tim Dillon said, because you're watching somebody die.
You're watching somebody slowly die. Yes.
And then he was talking about how, like, that's the curse of being a performer. You're gasping for these last breaths of relevance, even at this age when you're supposed to have dignity.
Right.
But you can't have dignity. You just have to die, desperate for someone to pay attention to you
Right.
as an actress.
And I think that the reason it happens that way for maybe a disproportionate amount of people in the business is probably because that's all they have. Their entire identity and sense of value and purpose is wrapped up in this one thing, which is entertaining other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not comparing myself to a Madonna, but I'm in the business in some respects in terms of like trying to put stuff out there to entertain the world and get something back for it, and having this give and take, and having potentially one day an audience that's sizable that could sustain me in some particular way. But I have no illusions, and I've never had any illusions about what's like really most important to me in life in terms of the hierarchy of values. And that may be a product of getting married young and having kids young. It's like wife, kids, family, community, friendships, relationships. Like those things last till the end. If you sustain and maintain them right, they're not dependent on what you can do for them in a transactional sense. They're dependent on you as your character and all those things. And I think maintaining those, for me, I know what things I could live without, and if they disappeared, I would find a way to survive. And I know what things I couldn't live without, and if they disappeared, life would be much more untenable.
So the things you couldn't live without are fairly obvious.
Yes,
But what are the things you think you could live without if they disappeared that you think you'd be okay?
look, it's like, if anything happened to any of my kids or my wife or people I cared about, that's not replaceable. I'm not in those relationships just for fun.
Yeah.
But while art is
Even the youngest one?
Well, he'd get lost for a couple, for a week, and if he came back, yes, the youngest one's he's the cutest, but yeah. Needing a break is different than something happening to him.
Got it.
God forbid.
No, but what are the things you think?
But my
could
point is,
disappear?
my nothing about my relationships, my like most meaningful relationships is trivial or just about the fun of it all.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, I think my relationship with art is a lot driven by the fact that it's fun.
Mhm.
And curious and fun to participate in. Making music is fun. It's always been fun. It's always been super fun to get on stage and perform for people.
Yeah.
And it's moving and it's fulfilling and it's like, it's great. And I just love, it's amazing to have a relationship with it and be able to interface with it, to make music, to find music and create it and play with it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's what initially drove me to it. It's like, ooh, what was that sound? I want to play like, it's just cool. It's cool and fun. And at that level, it's very fulfilling. Do I know how I'd live without it? I if it disappeared from my life as a real presence, I would lose a lot.
I want to push back on that. Forget the specifics of what you're doing, but if you weren't able to perform in some capacity, I don't think you'd be able to live without that. I don't think you'd be able to do without that.
Pales in comparison to losing anything else.
I don't know.
A child?
No, well,
What's wrong with you?
they're different things. But if you were stuck in a situation where you had no time to perform, you couldn't even go to like Shabbat lunches and like make people laugh. Like there was
That's a part of my
some
personality.
situation-
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but
I'm not
it's
talking about like losing a part of myself, like in terms of my personality. I'm just talking about
but the
pursuits or the things
that is
going
the
to a
pursuit.
lunch.
That is your pursuit, though, isn't
Going
it?
to a lunch and making people
Performance.
laugh.
Performance, whatever it
Well,
is.
all of life
You're
is
good at
perform-
music, so you perform music, and now
Yeah.
you want to perform comedy because you're good at comedy.
The thread is performance, but like music in and of itself is also really fulfilling, whether you're
Yeah.
performing it in front of people or not. Comedy a little different; it's more audience dependent.
So what could
My
you,
point is art. I'm not talking about like sitting down and socializing because that's part of maintaining and sustaining relationships, like humor and making people laugh at a meal. It's not me going to a show. I know you look at it that way, but part of sustaining relationships is people having a relationship with who you are. And if part of who you are is being funny, that's part of who you are.
So what do you mean that like you could do without what? Performing shows with a
If I
band?
was an old man and I couldn't be on the road or doing concerts anymore, and I had everybody in front of me and in terms of friends and children and all that, I'd be okay.
But you had never.
That's for me much more important and paramount.
But you had never accomplished anything with that. Would you still be okay?
I might be disappointed, but I already
Yeah.
have accomplished
Okay.
certain things, and I feel confident that I will accomplish more.
Okay.
So I'm okay. Like it's hard for me to like pretend like nothing has happened because stuff has happened that
Uh-huh.
makes me feel okay with it. But I just have no illusions about the fact of what's paramount.
Yeah.
And I think when you're talking about somebody who's been just completely engrossed in Hollywood and the chase and the pursuit, and
Yeah.
that's it at the expense
Yeah.
of relationships and meaningful connections over the years and family and community or whatever.
Yeah.
Like at the expense of all that, let's say if I had to choose, you could have all the success in the world in this creative pursuit,
Mhm.
but come home to an empty house with no relationships and no meaning, or have a house full of meaning and meaningful relationships and deep connections, but the other stuff didn't work out. I'd
Yeah.
choose the latter.
So I think I felt differently before I got married and had a child, where like I really probably would have given up the meaning for the thing that you're talking about. Like,
Exactly, because you didn't have it yet.
yeah, right. So now having had a child, my relationship to all of it has changed a lot, and I think
It does do that.
I think it's maybe because like you know how good it feels to have that meaning.
Yes.
And like so I'm not chasing it as much anymore with trying to find it somewhere else.
That meaning.
That meaning, like
and you
needing
wouldn't
to make a movie.
You
or-
wouldn't. If you had a bunch of hit scripts and a bunch of movies with your name on it that were feature films,
Yeah.
which one day, please God, you will, would pale like when David Swirsky was sitting here,
Yeah.
my bandmate talking about we had the song in the movie. It's a tiny taste of success for a song that makes it to a feature film.
Yeah.
Fleeting moment of accomplishment.
I wonder.
I can tell you.
You know, right?
I can tell you from
no,
experience.
but-
I'm not tooting my own horn. I know what it feels like to like hit a target.
No, but forget about. I don't mean like selling your song to a movie. I mean like if you had created something like Donald Glover in Atlanta. Like if you write an album and perform like the singer songwriter thing, and it's like a real piece of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that album hits a nerve and does really well.
Right.
You don't think that would be on the same sort of meaning
As a child.
as having a child?
No.
Like that expression of yourself in the world?
It would be like really great.
Yeah, but not as good.
Um,
You don't think it would fill you up with like
absolutely
something substantial?
but like such a different magisteria than what a child
Whoa,
does
good
for you
word.
every second of every day.
Uh-huh.
It's almost not comparable. It's
Yeah.
slightly comparable because you've birthed something, you've created something, you've poured a lot of effort into it. It's an expression of yourself, and
Mhm.
it's resonated. And then a little while later, you know, it's like okay, I'm really happy that happened, and then it's kind of whatever.
Mhm.
But like a child, as you continue to watch this child of yours develop and grow and bond with you, and however, it's hard to describe into words what occurs, but it pales in comparison.
What if the album could grow and develop as well? If
As
you
in
could
become-
like edit it and
and
like,
become human?
yeah.
It doesn't mean you're not proud of what you've done and
Yeah.
fulfilled by your work, but like I feel like I came across this like funny inspirational TikTok from some billionaire who describes what's important to him in life. You know, there's so much of
Yeah.
that. I enjoy them because I'm like, sometimes I have to turn them off.
That's
But
like a whole subcategory on
I know.
TikTok. Billionaires trying to reach out to.
But
to
he was
people.
like, he said to me, you know, I consider what I consider successful. I've made billions of dollars in my life. I've built successful companies. I've destroyed, you know, all the things he's done in business. I've had an
destroyed
incredible
families.
career. People have called me COO, CEO. Well, he said, but my biggest accomplishment to me is the fact that my kids want to hang out with me when they're older.
Yeah.
You roll.
I'd like to hear from his kids. It's easy for him to
Let's
say that.
believe it. Let's take him at his word for the
Yeah,
sake of
yeah, no,
argument.
that's
The
nice.
fact that my kids want to still hang out with me now as
Yeah.
adults, I've been called many things: COO, CFO, president, board of trustees. But the most important thing I've ever been called is dad.
Ryan Holiday.
Now you could say, "Oh, that's cheesy," but I do think it's true.
Ryan Holiday told a story about he was
Ryan Holiday, that guy's like the Stoics.
yeah, that's
The
pretty
Stoics.
good.
Now the Stoics have something interesting to say about his children.
It's
Those
a
teeth
little-
are
that's a
gangly
little
as fuck.
like I don't think I've seen. I don't know what he looks like. I don't think I've only heard him speak.
Oh,
He's very charming on audio,
yes.
but he said he was like emailing with someone about like whatever. He's like, I'm actually gonna be in New York. You want to grab dinner? And he's like, yeah, my assistant will send you instructions. And he gets his email saying like, be at this place at a certain time. He's there. A helicopter comes down, flies him from
told me this story once,
Manhattan to the Hamptons, where
Okay.
he has dinner with this guy. And his family, and he said like this guy does this type of thing all the time, but like his kids got along with him, and like he was so normal, and that was like the big accomplishment to him.
that he was able to maintain,
Just
and
have a
sustain
normal dinner with his family, yeah, like
Even though he
being
goes-
able to fly people with helicopters to meet
Right,
him. Yeah.
right. Is there a family member that's no longer around in your life that you would like to have around? A grandparent or something that you would.
I have grandparents who have passed away.
Well, grandparents are tough because it's
Yeah.
natural to lose grandparents. If you lost someone and you could trade a successful movie
Yeah,
that you made for getting that person back, would it be hard for you, you monster, to make that call to just have that person back in your life?
well, that's in
If
the
it was
past.
your wife,
That's in the past.
your wife. I don't want
Movies live forever.
What?
Movies live forever.
You're a monster.
No, but I had a lot of that. I mean, I'm like pretty much joking now, but I really like. I was that driven 3 years ago. I was
Well, your
that
highest
desperate for
pursuit
it.
that you were oriented towards
Yeah.
was that,
Yeah,
and because you weren't married, and you didn't have children.
yeah,
I guess that makes. And I'm not saying this.
yeah.
is
That's a nice way to put it.
That's
Yeah.
why you're right. Like I actually think career is sort of one step below, maybe because you're spending so much time doing it, and that's like what you're expressing and impacting onto the world,
Yeah.
and what you're putting out of yourself and giving of yourself to is to career. I'm not like knocking any of that. I'm just saying, as we started off this conversation about like empty vessels that be what becomes of these superstars who, I guess, don't invest in building family around them or any kind of things like that.
Mhm.
You know, it makes sense because it's
Yeah.
not necessarily what they've done that research. It's like of the people who live the longest, and they've said like in Japan or wherever, populations that live the longest, the common thread is that they have strong communities and strong relationships,
Mhm.
strong familiar relationships, and all that stuff.
Well,
So anyway,
then my question then is my question for myself is how do I re-energize towards how hard I have to work and how much I have to want it to keep pursuing it. That's kind of my
I mean,
question.
that's kind of your flaw where you kind of just get sleepy on it. And you're like, whatever. I have a kid now. I don't need this. Don't you love writing?
Yeah, I do. But yeah.
So for me, it would be like the best thing I could do for myself work-wise. And a lot of people don't see it this way, but I think the mature artist creative is looking at what I've said many times before. It's their goal is not to achieve some sort of status. It's to do the thing they love doing and make money doing
Right.
it. And that's sort of a practical decision.
Yeah.
I want to be able to sustain myself so that I could write.
Screenwriting is a very particular thing though, where inherent in it is like commerce. because it doesn't exist without money and it doesn't exist without like audience. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a little bit.
It's incomplete inherently.
Yeah, it's a strange thing to do on it for its own sake, to just get up in the morning and write screenplays. It's a strange pursuit. But that is like
But
what I like doing most. So
You like writing screenplays the most of
the
all
only
the
time
writing.
I'm really happy working is like I'm alone in the house, like writing a scene.
Alone in the house.
Everything else I really don't like.
Of writing even?
Yeah, of the meetings and the feedback and the editing and I like editing, but like anything else like that you have to do to get something made or to build a career, to build a business, is all annoying to me. I don't like any of it.
What about
really.
writing other things besides screenplays? I thought that's what you
Yeah,
meant.
writing. So I just mean me, like in the zone, typing.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I mean, like, I assume there are people who like the networking and like the notes and the back and forth, and they like the sort of hock
Maybe.
and all that.
Nah, but like
There
revisions.
are people who like that.
There may be.
No,
but like
maybe not revision specifically, but like all the everything else, the parties and the.
I don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I like a few things enough to put up with the other things.
Right.
So I love, or I would say not more than like I'm obsessed with, like, you do it all for the payoff. The payoff for me is, you think I like schlepping? I don't like carrying heavy things, but I take my amp, if I have to, into the car, into the thing, through the cold, with the thing, you know. The best stuff are the rehearsals. It's always fun because, like, I remember David Lee Roth was on Joe Rogan. He was like, "You think it's the shows, man? That's not the fun. It's not the shows, man. It's the rehearsals, man." And he goes, "Really? Why the rehearsals?" He's like, "The show, the monitor explodes. It's chaos. The rehearsals, tight every time." It's a great episode. It's Van Halen, David Lee Roth, singer for Van Halen. Every time, and you're rocking. And rehearsals are always like, talk to bands. Rehearsals are so fun. There's nobody there. It's just you guys.
I'd love to be in a Phish rehearsal.
Oh, no,
Just
rehearsals are so fun. They are, because you're experimenting. You're discovering the song or how the stuff's going to go before anybody else does. So you hear it for the first time. If something clicks and you're like, whoa, and then rehearsals are great.
Did you watch the Beatles documentary? Get
A little
Back?
bit, yeah. Very accurate.
Yeah.
Of like, I saw the clips of what I didn't see the whole thing, but the Get Back scene when he's like trying to find Get Back. He's like, and you see him like, that's how things happen all the time. You're riffing on something, somebody starts a humming thing, a lyric pops up.
Did you see the part where Peter Sellers, the actor, just kind of walks in for a few minutes and sits quietly and doesn't know what's going on and then walks out? Oh, that's who I want to be.
I get it. You've always been intrigued by that.
Yeah.
And that process. The rehearsals are great. The shows are like are the prize that you work for. That's why you put in the time, and the unpleasant parts. It's like the shows. Post game shows, like I'm an extrovert, but after a show, like sometimes I don't want to be there anymore. Like I've put out a lot and I need to relax. But like promo, even doing social media as a musician, it's just hard. You're like, hey, come check out the album. Hey, and then the meeting, and then all the other stuff is all so that you can get to the prized moments, which is performing, recording, writing, all the creative and like connecting parts of it, where you connect to people. In writing, it's different because you're connecting indirectly, I guess, but that's okay. That doesn't disqualify you. You're not supposed to like all that other stuff. You just want to be creative and put your ideas down on paper.
Yeah, I forgot even why I brought that up.
Just that you were saying that your drive has diminished significantly because you're now oriented towards the higher goal of being a father and a husband.
Right. Right now, I mean, I don't know. I guess like maybe specifically with screenwriting, like you're writing for it to be shared. I don't know. It's like I feel like it's like tied up for me with the ambition of like achieving. It's not just doing it for its own sake. The newsletter stuff I do for its own sake, which is very rewarding and fun.
Is it because screenwriting is incomplete?
Yeah, I mean maybe that's part of it.
That's what Quentin Tarantino said on Rogan, right? he was like, sometimes I'm just like, it's hard for me to actually go make the movie, right? Because like I've made this screenplay and I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm like, maybe I should just release this. I've like poured my heart and soul and sweat into this whole thing, and it's like finally done, and now I have to actually like make the movie, right? You know, and it's like that's what's like he's like, is that because Joe was like asking him like, isn't it exciting to make these movies? He's like, it's actually hard to go from like that's a hard process. Like now it begins. It's like I've done all this work, and now I got to make the movie. Now you got to make the movie. All right. It's not right. It's all right.
But it's like, I mean, when you write a novel, that is the complete. With screenwriting, it's like this, and then it's being projected like onto what it will look like. So it's like it's a 2-part, thing.
I hear that, and that's what's frustrating, I guess, or leaving you always lacking.
To do it, like you need to really want that second step also.
That's what I'm asking. My question to you is the drive. Mm-hmm. You love writing, and you love writing screenplays, but do you love making movies?
Well, I only made one.
In other words, you have to want that.
Well,
even if that's not your role, you have to want that for your work.
Yeah.
How bad?
How bad do I want it now? Like, it's well, you know what? I had this very clear thought a couple days ago, where when I started pursuing, it had always been my dream to like write for TV or like movies. I was always fascinated by it, and I like read everything I could about it, et cetera, et cetera. Huh? When I like really decided like in earnest, this is something I want to do and something I think I can accomplish, it was like 2012 or 2013, which is like the peak of like the golden era of TV. Mm-hmm. And like it made sense at that point, and I wasn't crazy for thinking I had like a shot at it. If I had been working in finance, whatever, until today, and I quit, and I was like, all right, now I'm gonna pursue that creative itch, would I want to write TV? If I like, based on what I'm watching on TV now, like no, not really. I think it'd be insane to try to think you could write for TV now, starting off from scratch. It's crazy, and also TV's not even that great right now, so like why would you even want to do it? What I think I would probably do is be like, I want to be a TikTok star. Like that's awesome. Like the funniest stuff is on TikTok, the best stuff is on TikTok.
But you don't like performing on TikTok.
I mean that's the funny part of it. I've gotten so turned around that I think I've lost sense of like what I enjoy. Because the truth is, like, I think if I was just starting from scratch today, I think I would like try to make weird TikTok videos. And like, I don't know if I'd have the drive to like to work as hard as you need to do to make it work. But like, I see those guys on TikTok, and I'm like I get you, and like you would
Which
get me.
Guy?
Like this guy, Will Angus, that I sent you. Like the weird. Those weird comedy,
the guy Everything Bagel, the guy who invented the Everything Bagel,
that type of thing. Just like where like 5 years ago there was nowhere for that guy, and now he has 1 million followers, and he gets to make stuff that's weird and cool.
I guess the question is, the Gary V in me is saying, why don't you make that?
Yeah, so
it's here now, and so are you.
I'm asking myself that question now.
Do those?
Of like, why don't I do that? And I should, and I think, I think. Yeah, I should. I heard that in the newsletter thing.
I heard
together.
Mr. Beast, who made his rounds on the podcast. I'm looking to him as the gold standard of. I can't tell if that's.
Is there someone there?
I don't know if it's gonna fall over.
Probably. It's okay.
Mr. Beast is the gold standard of content creator. He's the content creator king.
Yeah.
And he's just said very plainly, I don't understand why people don't just make short form content. It's just so much easier to do. It's so easy to make short form content. Like he buys an island and does a video that's 30 minutes long with thousands of editors and pays everyone on the island $50,000 cash prize and then has a helicopter, and he does these ridiculous, high scale. The scale of his videos are insane. So when people complain about not being able to do it TikTok, it's laughable.
Yeah.
And he pointed that out. He's like, just like 6-second videos. It's just so ridiculous. It's like, there's no reason why you can't do that every day and pump the YouTube Shorts algorithm and make 15 videos a day. Like 15 sounds insane, but to him, it's ridiculous. 15 minutes of video.
Did you ever see The Devil's Advocate? And
yes.
I'll tell you why. So when that was written by Tony Gilroy, who wrote Andor, by the way, which is like the best show on TV now. You should watch it. Anyway, in that movie, the devil came,
I'm a fan of man.
I'm a masochist. What can I say?
There's
I'm a sadist.
There's a lot of good stuff in The Devil's Advocate.
I love that movie.
You do?
I love that movie. I didn't even know that my favorite writer wrote it until like
He's
recently.
your favorite writer, this
Tony
guy.
Gilroy.
I haven't seen
so.
Andor either.
He's awesome. You should watch it. But so
I gave you what you wanted. It's a good Al Pacino movie. If you want to get some
That's a tough one. I mean, everyone does Al Pacino.
Yeah, the hoo-ah, but in this one it's more,
Yeah.
you know, I would go home. You know,
That's good.
there's a little rasp. And
What's his name in it? I forget.
Anyway, Lucius, maybe? I don't know. I think that's his name.
She did it. Keanu's full on weird Keanu, and Pacino's full on Pacino.
He's not full on weird Keanu.
A little, because I never lose. I don't lose. That's not me. I don't lose. And Pacino's like, he's not like Scarface, all the signature Pacinos, but it felt like it was his first movie to try to be a kind of normal guy, but with your shtick. And we were also kids when we're watching it. It had crazy like scenes, and you're just like, "What is going on?"
she's your sister. Well, half sister.
There's a line from that I used to say all the time. I can't remember now.
Oh my god!
Is he cut? Maybe that. I don't think
I
that
don't
was
know what it is. Something about it. His smooth, suave.
Anyway,
So in that movie, the devil comes back as a lawyer in like the late 90s.
yes.
Because like that was like the powerhouse of like the Western world. Like if you want to control the world,
Lawyer.
you come back. You're a lawyer. If the Devil's Advocate was being written now, he'd come back as Mr. Beast, as like a content creator. You want to control the world, become a content creator.
Yeah, I don't see Mr. Beast as evil the way some people we know do.
Someone turned me onto it, and that's all I see now.
You see this evil.
I don't think he has bad intentions whatsoever. I just think he is like I think he like made a deal with the devil, and the devil's like you every 1 out of 5 you make for me, and I'm gonna make you the biggest YouTube star in the world.
That's so funny. I mean, he lives in North Carolina, away from all of it, and just focuses on like giving money away to people and making ridiculous, crazy, fun videos.
Yeah. Well,
Studied YouTube for 10 years in a cave. You know.
Yeah. Our friend's argument is like he's not giving anything away because it's all comes back to him. Tenfold.
I don't even know what that means. I haven't seen I haven't seen anything from him that's like. I don't know.
I don't think he's like weird. I don't think he's like a. Like I don't think we're gonna find out like Mr. Beast is hiding a secret or anything.
No, I just like it's crazy. I don't watch a lot of his stuff, but I mean it's what's incredible is what he's demonstrated about that he's the embodiment of the creator economy. I mean, who is this guy and who would ever give him a deal? He did it all himself.
Yeah.
And that's to me what's inspiring about him. I haven't watched that much of his stuff, but I'm more just like this guy demonstrated the full embodiment of the power of YouTube. And what it can do for you, and you know, as the premier YouTube star, who was paving the way for like the content creator space to become a place where you can make what you want, and do what you want.
Yeah.
But all it really takes as the dividing factor is how hard are you willing to work. He to me demonstrates that.
Yeah.
Because he worked the hardest. There's nobody who worked harder than him. He said for a year straight, he woke up, got on a Skype call, discussed YouTube all day.
With who?
A bunch of creators. They all like either lived together or they were like connected, and they were all making YouTube videos. And you see his first videos from like 2013 or something, and they're like nothing. Like,
But what did he do? What did he do?
He's like, hey, my name is Jimmy. I want to be the biggest YouTuber in the world. So like, if I'm not a biggest YouTuber in 5 years, now you see it here. Like, it's him making this commitment, and he just did that. The story goes, you should watch him on Rogan. He tells his story like. He got
on Rogan?
Yeah.
I think I missed that.
It was a really good. That's why I have this respect for him. I was like, I watched him on Rogan. I'm like, this is like so strange. This guy's kind of a savant, a genius, very humble. It all seems very simple to him and clear. And he's like, so we just like spent 12 hours a day discussing YouTube, trying a video, trying a thumbnail, swapping the thumbnail, looking at the analytics, retrying it again, making it shorter, making this thing, doing everything. To try to master YouTube as a craft, the craft of YouTube content creation. And he studied it just like anybody who's amazingly good at anything has put in the time to learn it as a craft. And he's a craftsman when it comes to YouTube. And he demonstrated that when he explained it on Rogan. When I saw that, I was like, oh, he spent like, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe more, just like wake up, get on Skype call, take a break for lunch, or not even, and then go to bed. And then wake up and do it again. Rinse and repeat.
Who are these other people? Did they end up...
They all failed. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think they're all like probably YouTubers today that we've heard of, but I don't know.
Maybe he like ate them to contain their power.
I see.
And now and they like
Mr. Beast, the mark of the beast. You're probably right.
Is there a conspiracy theory about that?
No, but of course for you there is.
That's good.
Imagine his name was Jimmy.
Yeah.
Satan shows up. You are now Mr. Beast. If you look back his hair, it says like 666 on his skull.
Yeah. Devil's Advocate reboot with
Mr.
content
Beast.
creators, not a bad idea. Tony, if you're listening.
Yes, The Devil's Advocate was confusing as a child. I think my brother just made me watch it and rented it for the nudity, but otherwise I'm like, what is this?
I only watched it on like WPIX.
You know what didn't make sense though? In The Devil's Advocate, yeah, of course.
On
You know when they're skipping out those scenes on those TV ones, you're like, something happened in the cut.
and
It was like
you'd spend 7 hours on a Sunday afternoon watching it, like
because of all the commercial
Yeah.
breaks where they take it right before something goes down.
that and Troop Beverly Hills were the two movies they showed.
Yeah, or Beverly Hills Cop or True.
No, Troop Beverly Hills.
Oh, I don't
You
know
don't
what
remember
that
that one? No.
But in the movie, the devil comes back, but his son, Keanu Reeves,
Mm-hmm.
he discovers it's his father,
Yeah.
is going to sit on the throne as the devil with his half sister at the end. Is that the prophecy or something that they were going for?
Yeah, like what's the theology there?
I
And that
don't-
he wanted them to have a baby.
Yes, and that baby would be the Antichrist.
The Antichrist. But he was the devil, so isn't he the Antichrist?
No, maybe the devil isn't the Antichrist.
Oh.
I don't know enough about Christian theology to dissect
There's a
it
movie
properly.
called The Omen.
Yeah.
You see that? Yeah, I watched the original.
Yeah, I didn't watch the
from
original.
like the 70s.
The other one was just like the whole movie.
Yeah.
But yes, the original.
I think apparently it was better. But he's the Antichrist in that movie.
Yes.
And he's like
He's not Satan. He's the Antichrist.
He's the
a
product
different
of like an animal and a person.
Mhm.
I think.
a beast. The
A
mark of the
beast.
beast. They have the mark of the
Oh.
beast. I'm no Christian theologian. I don't know enough about Christian. I know in Revelations it's described. Maybe it's not Revelations, but something about a post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
There's the rapture. There's the concept of the Antichrist, which is not Satan.
We should have a non-Jew on one time to explain to us what the
It's time.
Antichrist is.
Antichrist,
They all know.
real Catholic who would know, but Antichrist is different conceptually than Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's what Devil's Advocate was going for. And I'm sure, just like there are biblical movies about the Old Testament that were like, that's not how it goes.
Right.
There are Catholics who will be like, yeah, they fumbled all
Like
that
real
together.
Antichrist heads.
Because in this one, it was like Grandpa, Devil, Antichrist. Maybe they birthed the Antichrist who eventually. I'm a fan of man.
That sounds right.
Yeah, something like
That
that.
sounds right.
And
Do you
I'm gonna be the Zadie.
You think Mr. Beast would have been a lawyer if he was born 20 years earlier?
Probably, yeah, man, and maybe, and then what? Keanu Reeves, spoiler alert, shoots himself in the head and goes right back to the original case where he makes the right decision morally.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah, that's why he ended it. No. And what did he say to him? He's like, he shoots himself in the head.
So I just heard the writer talk about it. His friend had the idea and he couldn't figure out how to write it. And
For
he's-
the Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, and so he said like they were talking about it for years, and he's like, listen, I'm gonna come to you. We're gonna work for a week straight on it, and if we can't figure it out, I never want you to mention it to me again. And he went, and they figured it out in a week, and
He
then
gave him
and
the
then
time
wrote
frame.
it. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So let's just wrap this subject up and bring it back to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a year, Michael, and I want you to what? What do you want?
In a year.
Well,
Well,
it's good that you do the newsletter because those are like completed pieces, and that's a good practice in completed pieces each time you write one. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
blurbs that are start to finish and ends in and of themselves. I feel like that's a good exercise for you, right? Or has been.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
it's more publishing. Like it has to get out. I
Right.
actually don't do it every week, but it has to get out, and like I have to, even if it's not perfect, like
Yeah.
sit with it and get it out. And people like it, and I get good feedback, and like it's like growing slowly. But like the point is like now people know I do that, and, and that's like
Right.
It's hard. That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
But what do I want in a year?
No, but you said like you had these TikTok ideas and premises. The execution is always tricky because it's hard to go from like what you hear in your head. See,
Yeah.
being able to connect those dots.
Yeah, the truth is, I have an idea, and then I'll film I'll do it, and I'm like, oh, like I'm not. This isn't. I'm not. I don't even like watching myself.
Yeah.
So I usually like lose a lot of steam when that happens. I did one, and like I'm not, like it was pretty much what I had in mind.
Was it the? This is amazing.
No, it was The Godfather. Did you ever see The Godfather?
Not really.
It was the guy who got the instruction
I
to
didn't see
put the horse head. there's this famous scene where like they
Yes.
would try to intimidate this
Cut a
guy.
horse's head
So
off.
this guy wakes up in his bed and his like race horse, his
Yeah.
head is just next to him. So it was about like I think it's funny that like how do you wake up in the morning with a horse head next to you like you've been sleeping in that bed for like 8 hours. You didn't like notice anything. You just woke up in the morning and are like, oh, like how did they who put the horse head? So it's the guy who put the horse head there, and he has all these questions like, how do I do it without waking him up? And when he like feel the blood, and like how do I get through the house carrying a horse
That's
head?
all very good
The
for
whole thing.
sketch. Yes, it's
Yeah,
an
right.
elaborate thing to make, though. It's Key and Peele style.
No. It was just
Okay,
me.
but Bush, the head's huge. He's gonna wake up.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it was just me, like, you know, sitting down and then me standing up. It was just two angles, talking to myself, wearing two different hats, like the TikTok style.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched it, and I was like, I'm not like great at this. I'm
Yeah.
not like delivering it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did put it out, and it got views and
Just
some
give it
likes.
to me. I'll make something happen with it.
Yeah, so maybe we should do stuff together. Yeah, I wish I knew like a performer. Maybe I can get like
Just
this
sitting right
Will,
across
this
from a
Will
content
Angus.
creator who makes sketch stuff up for
But it's
2
weird. But
years.
you don't love my sense of humor in that way.
In that way, not always. We don't
Right.
always see eye to eye on that.
I
but,
don't think you would have done this video.
wouldn't have connected with this humor.
I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, you see the stuff that you've seen the couple things I put up. It's not yours. It's not
no,
your
it's,
thing.
it's dog shit. There's no question.
Well,
but
people like it.
it is good. I like
it's something.
I like it. The question is like, can I take
Can
it?
you
and make
deliver it?
Can I deliver it? Because I don't quite. I mean,
And I'm also like there's very few things in my life I can control. Like at least like when I write these stories, I can control like letter for letter what it is. I don't know how I feel about you.
How am I gonna get the horse's head in the bed? He's gonna wake up. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, like I feel like you and I would end up like fighting with you
Uh-huh.
because I'd be like, that's not what I'm trying. That's not what I'm going for. We
right,
could try it though.
Good luck with it.
We could try it.
If it's something that it's not that I wouldn't always connect with it. We
Mm-hmm.
have humor that overlaps and we have humor that doesn't.
hmm
So maybe if it's something that
Yeah.
I don't need you. I work alone, bitch.
Yeah. Would you want that?
not
Would you
nec-
want sketch ideas?
I have been writing down on a big list. I think it was like maybe a Mr. Beast thing too, where he was like, I have a massive document. Everything is ideas. He really reduced it down. Like if you don't organize your ideas, like it becomes messy. And I'm now in this phase of content creation where I need to try to start batching content and like doing a bunch in a single day and then doing it throughout the week. Cause it's supposed to like how do you stay sane in doing this? One of the things is batching content. I know that, but the reason I don't do that yet is because I don't want to, like, I want that, like, little bit of, like, I got to make something today. I like that push. It, like,
Right.
forces me to, like, okay, get out there and stay creative.
It doesn't have
and
to
do
be content though.
Well, it
that you make.
does.
You can make something every day. It doesn't have to be content.
What do you mean?
You like the push to be
post.
creative every day.
No, to
Oh,
post.
to post.
To
Literally
post.
to post. Okay.
To stay present in these platforms and post. But I'm doing almost everything in real time from scratch.
But with batching, you are posting every day. You're just not creating.
Yeah, I didn't
it
say not
every-
posting every day, but batching meaning creating all of it in one day, changing outfits,
then post-
like
yeah.
shooting all your videos. Shoot 10 videos on a Monday. That's your content day.
Mhm.
Change outfits, make a bunch of things, and then like roll them out throughout the week. All you do is post. It's
Yeah.
like not as opposed to every day. Like, okay, what am I making now? What am I making now? What am
Yeah.
I making now? It can
But
get-
you like that.
I like what it does. I like that it puts me in. I like that pressure it puts on me. But it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wears on me. It's exhausting
Yeah.
because I'm doing podcast stuff, my own stuff, band stuff, other composing work, and it's just like every day is jam packed with so much to do, as opposed to
Right.
like being able to kind of control the chaos.
Right.
My point though is I've started writing down on a list like any idea I think of for a sketch, and I'm in touch with some people now who would be interested in maybe helping me get some resources and funding to do more elaborate sketches. I had one that I don't want to give it away now, but
You need funding. That's the problem.
sometimes, if my vision for it is bigger than anything I can do on my phone or
Mhm.
with a green screen in here, I can't hire actors and people and shoot on location for a
Mhm.
sketch without some kind of funding for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been gotten in touch with certain people who like might be able to help, so that could be cool. I thought, and then my imagination then goes. For example, if I wanted to do like a spoof on Food Network stuff, which I've been watching, I used to watch a lot of Food Network, and I think there's so much there, like a
Yeah.
fake Chopped called Chipped, where you just make fun of the judges and do things. I have this one about making fun of Guy Fieri.
Mhm.
Diners, drivers, and dives, but he's this like a character based off of him that maybe is him or maybe isn't, but he does like these ridiculous things. Walks into a restaurant, he goes, oh, like, and just hates the food and makes the guy feel awful. Or we'll go like bring out a dish and look at it, temperature check, and slams his hand into it. You know, like just oh yeah, just like create this character who's so bombastic. Imagine temperature check, whoa, and just sticks his bare hand in a boiling pot of ziti. I was.
See, this is like the disconnect. That's the type of thing that really tickles you, and that I don't like get off on.
Michael, it's funny. What's wrong?
That's
with
how
you?
I feel about my stuff.
Imagine I was watching Diners, Drive-In Drives on a plane.
It might be.
I was watching it on a plane, and he's just like, "That's a ride of Flavor Town, and it's got a zing to it. It's got a sweetness." But what if he put it in, and he was like, "I'd fuck it." but in the middle, like the guy, is just shocked. He's like trying to judge his food. I'd fuck that sandwich, and not doing it for you.
Yeah.
What's that? And
It's
then,
funny.
then he
I
brings
like
out a
that.
pot
That's
of
fun. I
pasta,
think
and he
that's
goes, ooh, flavor, temperature checks, oh yeah. But the people around him are all freaked out. They're not in on it. They're like completely mortified. You know, and he just like wrecks people's dining experiences and the restaurant's reputation. But they have to like put up with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd love to see it.
Chipped. You didn't hear my idea for a chopped parody called
Yeah,
Chipped?
no, we did that on the podcast already.
Yeah, he takes the dump on a plate and serves it to them. He's like, I ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
You got to see the execution. You don't think it's funny? It doesn't
See,
tickle you.
that feeling that you're getting now is what I
All right.
is what I fear
Is what you fear, the rejection
about
of the...
working with you. About working with you.
All right, that's it. Then we just do the pod. Just do the pod, and I think jokes and stand up is good.
Yeah,
we can probably keep it. We can
should
probably
try. I don't know. Maybe we should try something. I can write fart jokes.
I hear you, but you're not so receptive to feedback. You really loathe it.
I'm
better at it. Not great.
Yeah, you're better at it. I
really hate it.
I'm working on it. I mean, I have to work on it. I'm not like when I'm working like professionally, like I don't like I think I handle it pretty well. But no, I don't like feedback.
No, you don't, and I don't think you have as much experience as I do collaborating. I think you're used to the process creatively of being in a solo space. Except for what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Like you're in a solo space, so it's brain to paper.
It's something I'm working on. Also, the podcast specifically is tough because to get feedback on something that like there's no like it's not a job. We're both just doing it because like it's fun and we enjoy it. So like to like like that's the only reason we're doing it, you know. And then like to get feedback on that is like
it's like F you.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
No, it's not F you. It's like fuck this. Like I'm what else am I getting if I'm not getting like some enjoyment and some like.
But what do you mean by feedback from who? Who are you talking?
Like I'll make a reel and you'll be like and like you're right by the way. You're like, oh, that was a good reel. Like next time you should include something like this in it.
Right.
And like I'm like he's right, but I also like my like daughter was crying for an hour next to me while I did that, and like I'm only doing it so I can like see it on there and like enjoy that I have made it. So it's like if there's any negativity with that. I see feedback as negativity. That's probably my problem.
Maybe that's
but
the
like
problem.
Any like criticism is like well, why am I doing this?
Oh right, that's your instinct.
That's
you have
my
to
instinct.
overcome.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it's not. Yeah, it's. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
negativity. It's easy to perceive it that way as opposed to great. Like even better next time.
That's the healthy attitude. That's
if we try. I trust your instincts. If you see something in mine and like. Or vice versa.
I mean, but I don't like give you shit if there's like a cut I would have done differently. I'm like what am I doing here? Like we're both doing this for free. I'm not gonna
I get it. No, and you don't take my feedback badly, but I know you're just being honest about the instinct.
There's a certain feeling that like I pick because the other day you gave me feedback on a thing and I got so pissed and like I'm like I have to stop myself. I'm like,
oh wow,
but I was meditating. I'm like this feeling is like ego. Yeah. This is ego. Like,
what do you remember what it was?
It was on the Harry one that ended up getting like 150,000 views on TikTok. With the manifesting. Like I was going like I there was a funny part of it that it wasn't like my favorite joke about like don't beat yourself up. Yeah. And like I cut that out specifically because I was like I want this to be like sort of framed as a real like sort of cheesy manifesting video, and then it just kind of gets weirder and weirder and weirder, and I don't want to like call attention to that with the joke. So like I made a decision and then I did it, and then your feedback was like, oh, you should have put the joke in.
Did I say put the joke in, or there was another part of it? Maybe I'll make another reel also.
I think you were like, there's another part of it. Like you could have added like some of the humorous parts into it. You said it nicely.
Did I? Okay.
You said it well.
It's possible I didn't.
But I got like pissed about it, but like I at least at this point I know like how like to manage
how to process
and
that
how to
feeling.
process that and be like,
Well, that's good.
And
I think that's evolved.
It is evolved, and you see with like great like with Michael Jordan and great actors, when you hear about how they receive feedback, they're thirsty for it.
Yeah.
They want to be told,
Exactly.
what can I do better? Please tell me.
That's how I've come to learn about
Yeah,
it.
it's
I usually take
good.
it that way. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you're getting value.
Yeah,
Like you're
no, it's
getting.
true.
It could be wrong, and the video did really well on the TikTok metrics, which is awesome.
Right, so I think
And my instinct, it's all taste. It's not right or wrong either. I was like, when I watched the video, there's such a weirdness to what's being expressed in that reel. I remember, I was like, oh my God, I'm so tempted to joke because I did in real time. I'm like, where did this go? So I don't feel this like it feels like I'm almost like answering the thirst of the audience, and you left them thirsty for like sit with this for a second.
Yeah,
he's really saying this, and it struck like a serious nerve, and it's not about like wrong or right, but it worked.
Yeah.
It's all subjective, is all I'm saying.
Right. Maybe that's
taste.
also when like also like with my writing when like I get feedback about like a question of taste.
Yes,
I'm
that's
like
hard.
the only thing I have is taste.
Yeah.
Like don't fuck with that.
But you're not wrong. When you get feedback, it's not because your version was wrong. It's a disagreement on taste,
Right.
And you're finding a balance of tastes.
Well,
That's
that's the collaboration part of it.
That's what I'm saying.
I like being told I'm wrong. That's
Right.
great. Where you're like, this doesn't work.
I mean,
like,
it's sort of
this
an
makes the
unspoken-
story worse. That's like, great. Please give me more of that.
Yeah, but also like in creative collaboration, you learn like no ideas are wrong. It's hard. I used to be much worse at saying like, no, that is not the right way that this song should go, as opposed to, oh, okay, so like he thinks, and I've been wrong in the sense that, like in writing a song together with people, you're so sure it should do this. You're so sure it should go this way, and then you just like let that go for a second. You're like, all right, let's go this way. I don't think it'll be as good, and then what happens often is like you come back 2 days later, you're like, you hate your idea. You love that idea. You're like, oh, wow. No, I actually really like that idea. My idea, because in the moment you're like caught up in it.
Yeah.
And then the whole is greater and stronger than the sum of its parts because you allowed for that blending of taste.
Yeah.
And it's not this monolith that's just your head.
Rick Rubin talks about that,
Yes.
about like if you're in a room trying to win, you're not collaborating. And
Right.
You're not.
I just saw that. I saw that clip
yeah,
too.
it
Yeah.
was a
And he
great
talks
clip.
about that also, and it's true. So I have to also, I've been better. I've been trying. My effort is like, how do I present feedback that doesn't come across as wrong or right? That doesn't come across as this idea is superior. You should have done it this way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to word things optimally in that way. I have to fight against things to say what I would have done, and therefore it's right. It's more like I don't know. I thought I said it decently enough.
No. Well, I think you're right. When it is a question of taste, maybe that's what really triggers me. Of like, that's why I like the newsletter, especially because it's just me and just my taste, and I get to be 100% with it.
Yeah. Well, listen. If there's like a click or a pop or an editing thing or something that could be smoothed over, maybe that's a little
That
more
I
objective.
appreciate. That's easier for me to handle.
Right.
Actually.
Taste. I think from my perspective with that, I was going to do a reel on that part and do it exactly the other way, where I was going to play to all the funny moments of it because it's so quick and short and not within the long context of it.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about something he was serious, but we were like I would have shown my face, your face, all the things and played it funny. You didn't play it funny.
Yeah.
Both work because both are right.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's what I like.
what if my video got 2 million views? I'm just
well, first of all, I didn't have the wide view, so I couldn't do it. We're getting like real inside baseball here. But
first of all, TikTok's at like over 2,000 followers. By the way,
it's crazy.
What's going on?
2,500,
Yeah.
2,600 probably by now. It's fun. That's fun.
Huh?
It's fun.
You got to give it to yourself. It's
That's
crazy.
fun.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
TikTok, it's classic.
Well, what I love about TikTok is it is like it's playing with it's a very intimate viewing experience. I think almost the too curated is like wrong for TikTok. You know, like Gary Vee talks about how each
Yes.
platform, like the TikTok is like you want to make people feel uncomfortable and like it's a very private. It's a very private.
Listen,
viewing
it's Hebrew
experience.
Israelite and masturbation withdrawal. We have to lean into that. Okay, so let's make a commitment now. It's crazy. I mean, but it's crazy. Also, you can't get too caught up in the metrics, but it's just been a wild little thing that like it took off on those two.
It's cool to see also
on those
like the amount of people you need to see your stuff is in the hundreds of thousands before you convert into followers. You can't get 1,000 people seeing a video. They're 0% are going to convert to followers.
Of that, you mean?
No, I mean like on TikTok, if a thing gets 1,000 views, like great, but those people like you have to hit so many people for a small percentage of them
to siphon off
to convert. It's about conversion. It's like sales. But if you can get seen enough, anyway.
Yeah, but also you have to realize a TikTok follower is less valuable than a Instagram follower and a YouTube subscriber.
For sure. I don't ever check a TikTok page. I go to my feed, and if they give it to me, I'm happy. And if not, I don't like go search for anyone.
But anyway, it's
fun. It was a nice pop when we needed it.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's also we're gonna have more guests. Like that's really the thing. Just have interesting, fun guests.
I'm excited for more of those.
Yeah.
The last subject to cover, to revisit this constant rehash.
Masturbation?
Yeah. No, is what happened on TimCast this week. Did you see Tim Pool's podcast? Did you see the clip?
Who is Tim? Is TimCast? I
Tim
don't like
Pool?
TimCast. I don't like. I saw him on Rogan once, and
Tim Pool, he
was
talks
like,
really
I'm not a
fast like
fan.
this. He's kind of like a sort of. He claims to be liberal, but he kind of traffics in the new in like the more conservative
He
circles.
traffics in click
in conservative circles, and he has a podcast that's become very popular.
Yeah.
He's got over like 1 million subscribers on
Okay.
YouTube.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Fine.
Sorry. That's him.
That guy. I don't.
Tim Pool.
Yeah, Tim Pool.
One of these guys in these circles of, right of center podcast space who has a big online following. Very online in a sense.
Q adjacent, would you call him?
Who?
Q adjacent.
No, because his angle has always been like, I'm liberal, but I like talk about things honestly, like about Antifa and stuff, and they smear me. But I've never.
I'm like really liberal.
But I'm liberal. But like a lot of the like woke left is like, you're a faker, you're a grifter. You put that on and then cozy up to like wackies and people and like the wacky QAnon people among us or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know the details, but I've been following him a little bit over the years, and he tweets a lot, and he puts a ton of YouTube content and a lot of interviews, and he's made his rounds. Oh, and he had there was a big Rogan episode. You definitely saw
That's
this
the one
one.
I saw.
Him
yeah.
versus the head of like terms of service and community guidelines at Twitter and Jack Dorsey.
Oh, that was cool.
And he grilled them
Yeah.
about their liberal bias.
She got fired day one, by the way, of the Musgrave.
Exactly. So Jack Dorsey,
You know, she got paid $10 million last year. I think $7 to $10 million.
Wow. But
Anyway.
but he grilled them.
Yeah.
And I think that put him more on a sort of. I'm sure it raised his profile,
Yeah.
but it was good because Rogan had Dorsey on and didn't question him enough and got heat for that.
Yeah.
So he had her on and him.
He came with his
him.
laptop.
And he
see
said,
he was
"Okay,
like,
so
yeah.
explain this to me," and he grilled him. Anyway, that's the little bit of backstory of Tim Pool. Now on his podcast, in the height of this scandal with, Donald Trump, Kanye West, Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, he's a
Milo Yiannopoulos.
He's a Latinx person.
He's a white nationalist,
Okay.
like legit. It all ties into the Mar-a-Lago thing because, what's funny, what's ironic is I think the Trump deranged woke left side of the aisle has cried wolf so many times about Trump being a white supremacist. Like he's many, many things, but over the years and through his presidency, them calling Trump a white nationalist, I thought was kind of nutty and unfounded. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. And then you're just like, okay, that's a little eyebrow raise. That was a little odd. But there was always this, Trump always gave himself enough like weird coverage to like kind of mask behind people. Even Charlottesville, there was like, there was an alternative narrative, which was like, people said, find people both sides. That was like the left narrative. That's what he said, find people both sides. And the Trump defenders were saying, actually, if you just watch the rest of the news conference and the transcript, Trump said, there was a protest earlier that day where there were fine people on both sides, and then these neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally. Like he said those words, and that was left out, so people were giving CNN crap for that. Anyway, in this case, they show up And it's just
Wait, so
like
at
at the Mar-a-Lago meeting, Kanye shows up with Nick Fuentes. Who is that? Is what the left has been calling Trump and all this. He is a white nationalist.
it's like a KKK guy.
Supremacist. He has this he's been a live streamer guy who's talked about very anti-immigration, anti-homosexuality, anti-Semitic, all those things. Like him and Ben Shapiro are enemies. He goes after Ben Shapiro. He harasses him online. The anti-Semitic harassment that Ben Shapiro talked about experiencing in 2016 and all that came from the Fuentes crowd, the hard right, identitarian right crowd.
Yeah.
Jews will not replace this crowd. That's Fuentes, and he believes in a lot of that stuff. Then you have Milo Yiannopoulos, who's like a Breitbart defector, formerly used to be gay, conservative, weird hybrid who claims he's not gay now, but he fell off because he made comments defending pedophilia.
He's a provocateur.
A provocateur, and now it's obvious he's a whore for the attention and is latching onto Kanye. As this, it feels like a return of it feels like the Empire Strikes Back in the cinematic part of it, where the villains, so to speak, have fractured into these weird other groups now that are formulating. And I'm getting off into
them. Milo, Kanye, and Fuentes showed up to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
and you said Kanye brought them uninvited.
Correct.
Which is
I
hilarious.
think it might have been a strategic attempt to finally damn Trump for to mar him and saying, look who you had dinner with.
Why would Kanye want to do that, though?
Because Kanye is crazy. I think Kanye is out of his mind. Wants to run for president.
He is. He announced with Milo.
Yes. So I'm just saying, and they're latching onto him, and I think they're it's in the cinematic way of looking at this. They're the guys who he's gonna kill in some rampage too. He would shoot them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You betray me. He's like, no. They're cozying up to the Mad Queen. Yeah. He's the Mad King. And these are his posse now.
Yeah.
Trying to siphon off whatever cultural attention they can get off of it. And Milo's making this comeback with it. And Fuentes is there at this meeting. So obviously, and Trump doesn't condemn Fuentes afterwards, right? And now you're just all right, I think if there was no bullet that could take him out and politically, this might be it for anybody who would anybody in the conservative side who wasn't a Trump supporter but could get on board for the sake of policy. Mm-hmm. I don't think really can at this point.
But then don't they tell themselves he didn't invite him there and he?
No, at this point
because he won't apologize.
Yeah, you're just all you have to do is search the name. Somebody shows up uninvited. You search it's wait at the door, search the name, something. I know it's guilt by association, but it's all very bizarre.
Trump's smart though. He must know that in the long run, the amount of people that actually kind of like Fuentes are more than the people. I feel like
Fuentes is more of a Richard Spencer than you don't understand.
I feel like he makes a calculation of
I don't think
it's not a bad look for me in the long run.
Well, what it is doing is anybody who was defending Trump throughout Trump's presidency is hey,
they're having a tough time now.
We're off it. It's all fragmenting now.
That's happening.
And it's happening. It is happening because Fuentes is indefensible. And the crying wolf over the years about Trump being something that he didn't seem like he was, could say all these things about him, but a white supremacist, he's orange. Fuentes is those things. You're not crying wolf here, and you can't not admit that. Just like you can't deny that Kanye's comments are anti-Semitic. The comments themselves, the substance is anti-Semitic. But it's causing this fracturing. You have the Candace Owens things who are the Candace Owens side who's defending Kanye because she likes Kanye because they're friends and she can't parse the difference.
But then at the same time, didn't something just happen? Oh yeah, none of the lawmakers will actually condemn Trump.
What do you mean that?
None of the congresmen and senators.
They're all doing that.
Oh, a week ago they weren't.
Yeah, I saw clips of Chuck Schumer today talking about
the Democrats. I mean, the Republicans. Still, no one will badmouth
Romney,
Trump.
the typical guys who have.
But he's still powerful. No one,
I don't know.
No one's going to go against them.
I have yet to see it. I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see not lawmakers, but David Friedman, former ambassador to Trump, modern Orthodox Jewish guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, David Friedman, Ambassador Friedman.
What'd he say?
Condemned this whole thing. I don't know what the word for word statement, but was this is insane. It's inexcusable. You know, you have dinner with whatever. Just condemning the whole chain of events and everything about it. People who worked for him. There's people who were defending him till the very end, even through different things, and are just off it. So I wonder how that's going to trickle down politically. and what the political consequences are and baggage for this.
So then TimCast
Okay,
had them.
Yeah, so Tim Pool then gets this opportunity. They agree to go on Tim Pool's podcast.
The three of them, this like
Three
new
of them.
superpower team.
Yes.
What a fucked up
That's
little
what I'm saying.
clique.
They show up, they're talking. And Kanye, like within 20 minutes, is like, look, I'm not going to be on some setup Lex Fridman bullshit podcast where I'm going to be forced for the millionth time to have to say this, because Kanye quadruples down on who they are, the Jews, you know, trying to control me and shut it down. And they're all there. And Milo Yiannopoulos, I think, is Jewish. It's just ridiculous. Kanye's black, Milo's Jewish, Nick Fuentes, white supremacist, have all paired together. And yeah, you have Milo Yiannopoulos, a gay Jew, Fuentes, a homophobic white nationalist, and Kanye West, black hip hop,
Black
superstar,
billionaire.
black billionaire, are on the same team here on this pod. And literally, Tim Pool says, he's like, "What do you mean by other? What do you mean?" And well, he's sorry, not other. They. He's like, well, I don't think we agree on the word they. I don't agree with your thing of they. And Fuentes is about to try to say like, well, isn't it they then who are trying to? He's like, no, I just don't think that. And in the middle of his sentence, he's trying to explain what he means by. He says, I think they've been very unfair to you, to Kanye, to try to like explain. Like, I understand in some sense what you've been going through.
Yeah.
And he's like, but who's they though? Who's they? And Kanye goes, and Fuentes, and he goes, I think it's corporate media. I don't think they is attributed to some particular group. And Kanye just storms off out of the podcast, like, oh, you're gone? You're done? And this was like 20 minutes in. Oh, you're done? And he wasn't pushing. He was about to explain his point of view. And Kanye storms off.
Can you imagine how awkward it is between Milo and Nick Fuentes, where they're both like,
they were sitting there for a little bit.
Yeah, no, where they're both like, oh, the only reason we're here is to piggyback on Kanye's popularity.
Correct.
We don't have anything to do with each other.
At some
Like,
point,
we're not friends.
Tim is just like, okay, we can just keep talking about this or whatever just happened. Look, you're gonna come here, whatever. And then Milo goes, I need to go check on him. Sorry, I need to go. I'm gonna go check on him, see if he's okay. Sorry. He's like, yeah, but listen, you know, they've given us this identity, darling. This is who we are. It's so villainous. It's like he's like Tim Pool is saying, I don't like identitarianism. I think it's really unhealthy. I think it's wrong. I think attributing things to anything that's immutable to a group doesn't make any sense logically or morally. He's like, listen, they've given us this identity, darling. They've been playing this game for years. This is who we are. That's Milo Yiannopoulos. Do you know what he sounds like?
No, I like that though.
Oh, that's just darling.
He sounds great.
Oh, you would. I think you'd really enjoy him.
I've seen him before.
You know,
he looks like Justin Bieber a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Darling, I wish I looked like Justin Bieber.
That's a sad look for Kanye. I feel like Kanye's savvier than that. Like, I feel like that's a hard look to come
I think
back
he went
from.
on
It's
to
so
storm off.
Desperate.
He went on this show to storm off.
But to click up with those two
Yeah.
he makes you look so desperate.
I
feel like that's a really.
He's well.
But he's
just influential.
savvy, but he's savvy.
I don't think so. I think
No.
no.
You think he's like
I
he's
think
really
he's
lost it?
bipolar. And when you're manic, you believe you're savvy. You believe every idea you have is brilliant, which is why you have delusions of grandeur. And because he's so influential and culturally iconic from his music, people are believing his own delusions about himself. He must really be onto something here. We're all be acting manic. I don't believe it. I know it personally. That's what mania is. Why is nobody laughing? He's saying I'm running for president, and people are like, stop. They're going, a serious contender for president. I'm like, people are taking these comments seriously. It makes perfect sense to me why he's paired up with people like Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes, who he perceives as, oh, they have intelligence. Like, because he thinks every idea of his is messianic.
Well, that's not how I see it. I see it as like
He's godlike.
He's gotten so down to the bottom of the barrel that he has to find people who won't push back on him at all. And these are just two desperate people who won't give him shit about anything.
I think you're saying that from a person of sound mind, that like that's why he's scraping at the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, like intuitively,
He's not.
I don't know
I
if
think
he's
he's-
like.
I
I
think
think,
he's-
he's out of options.
No, I think he's following these emotional gut instincts that are misfiring in his head of like putting all these pieces together.
I
He's
bet,
not
I bet he
coherent.
makes a lot of calls that no one picks up now. I bet those are the only two people who picked up his
That
call.
could be. I'm saying that's true, but I don't think that's the driving force here. And I still stand by the mental illness claim. It would be the
Yeah, no,
other thing that would.
I'm with you, but even within your mania, you're not driven by gut instinct. You're not driven by like
Your gut instinct is completely diluted.
Okay.
You're not. Your thoughts are generally not grounded in any sort of reality.
Yeah.
It's as if you're putting on like godlike goggles, and like you think you're a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
You know when you're like in school, private Jewish elementary school, reading like the book of prophets, and you try to like imagine what it was like for them, like looking around the world when they like looked at the hills. Did they see connective things we didn't see? And you like, all of a sudden, it's almost like you're imagining what could only be described as like an acid trip that they were on because they were connected to some higher power.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're trying to preach what the truth is and no one's listening to them. That's what Kanye thinks he is, I think.
Yeah.
The God clown. So all the decisions he makes, all the things he could say, I wanted Adidas to pull out. Gotcha. It's all just like stream of consciousness, mental ping pong. And it's very apparent to me. I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening. And for anybody to take anything he's saying seriously, genuinely, as other than a product of real mental turmoil,
Yeah.
I'm not excusing.
Makes them manic.
What's that? I just think it's so foolish to buy into it.
It's then you're acting manic yourself.
In a way, or you're just buying into these ideas that have no grounding in real reality or real rational behavior.
I forgot who said this, but they
try to make sense of it. You don't make sense of illness.
The only real like contagious disease is like madness. You know, and that's why like going to visit somebody who's sick, like in the hospital with like madness, like they've lost it. Is like a higher level of visiting the sick because you can actually catch it.
Oh, interesting.
Like so it sounds like all his fans have caught his, like you said, they caught his mania.
And they're attributing the fact that because he is a genius in certain respects, artistically, like there must be wisdom everywhere in all of these things. Like he's able to write 808s and heartbreaks. We couldn't do that.
Right.
So because of that, all these other things must have this integrity to them or this wisdom that we don't yet see. But he sees something we don't see. He's playing this 3D chess when he's not. He's just, this is in my opinion, humble opinion, but I know it well. It's just, it's all rooted much more in his illness than his creativity or his genius.
Does anyone like reasonable debate that? Is that up for debate by anyone who's not like?
Well, when you say
like
that,
a young kid.
When you say that, you get accused of like, oh, you're just part of the machine that's trying to discredit him.
Like dummies.
By a lot of people who who support Kanye in like the hip hop community. A lot of people who came and say, I stand by Kanye. They're trying to shut him down. They're trying to give him drugs. They're trying to institutionalize him. Yeah, like you get placed in that category. So he's enjoying widespread support in a much more disturbing way. I'm not trying to say you should institutionalize him, but I do still think a lot of this is rooted in that. And that would explain all this erratic, irrational, contradictory, incoherent stuff. He's paired up with a white nationalist.
Yeah. To me, that's so clear. It's like not even worth mentioning almost. Like,
yeah, but there's a lot of people who.
I mean, I read the comments on our videos, but I mean, I can't believe anyone who's like.
It doesn't seem like the dominant conversation. It doesn't seem like the dominant conversation around Kanye is his mental illness. It seems like it's more about his provocative statements,
right?
Which you're lending certain credibility to them or some calculation to them by calling them provocative.
Right. Whereas when that like Olympian dropped out, all anyone wants to talk about was mental illness. But when an actually mentally ill person is like out in the world, no one wants to talk about mental illness.
Yeah, or if just somebody
mental health.
If somebody had a breakdown and started mouthing off, or took acid and started mouthing off, you wouldn't be like, some provocative statements they're made, and try to analyze them and make sense of them or defend them or criticize them.
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses for the substance of the anti-Semitic comments he's been making, and all that stuff is so disturbing, but the way people, it's the same arguments we've been having. But anyway, they walked off the pod, and
where'd they go?
This I don't know. But
back to their shelter.
They ended up, the podcast went on another like 3 hours.
I'm so
this
curious,
20 minutes in.
Like what the social dynamic is in like the limo ride over there.
Yeah,
because Milo gets what's going on.
He's
he's the interesting one to me.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
I want to be back on top, baby.
Exactly.
And I'm a bottom.
I'm gonna ride you.
And I'm a bottom. No,
he's like not allowed to work, right? He's like
he was interning for Marjorie Taylor Greene for free.
Yeah. Not that like I like have his back, but like
yeah. No, but there was one more point to make about it though. Oh, it was the same reason when I was like, conservatives are getting behind Kanye when he was going off on, the mainstream woke Hollywood culture and wearing the Trump hat. And I'm like, don't get on board with this Tucker Carlson and start saying the reason they hate Kanye is because he's willing to speak truth to mainstream narrative and woke narrative establishments. Like, no, it's the same stuff. Like, the same stuff.
I still think I think he's mentally,
Unwell?
he's unwell right now. But I think it's there's still a through line, and like this is like an insane manifestation of the through line throughout like the last couple of years, which is like he's really fascinated by the limits culture puts on you of what you are allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. I think that's what I think his thing with the red hat was like, it's a red fucking hat. Why are you all going crazy? It's like these symbols that you've like attached so much meaning to have like become these tools of like oppression and censorship. And I think he finds that really fascinating. And then the next evolvement of that is like, what's the one thing you really can't say? Jews control the media. But he's so unwell that it went off the rails, and like he shouldn't have ever been involved in it. But I think it's like in his mind he's like involved in an art project. Like
see, that's attributing a little too much. That's the most not gracious. You're attributing a little too much calculation and genius to it. Did you see when he put the hat on and went into Trump's?
It doesn't have to be calculated necessarily.
But he went into the Oval Office with the hat on. Remember when that was on screen? He was talking to Trump. It made no sense. Then he had a press conference wearing the hat or whatever when he was like running in when he announced that he's going to run in 2020. And he stood there crying, saying, "They took my children away. They took my children away." So sure, it could be true. He's drawn to these things.
I might be.
But at that same exact time, in the same exact timeline, he was standing there in the hat and then crying. Yeah. And then he was on TMZ saying, "You forced me to get liposuction. That's why, because I was fat and I got liposuction for all of you." Hello? He screamed at a bunch of TMZ things saying, "You forced me to get liposuction because I was fat. That's why I did it. I did it for you because you were making me feel fat in my photos." Like, listen to what I just said, and then watch what he says to Trump to his face. I fucking love this guy, man. I love it. Then he starts, and he's making no sense, and everyone's like, Kanye.
You know what I was wondering the other day? I wonder
Great guy.
When him and Kim got divorced, do you think they sat down together to tell the kids? Or Kim was just like, "Guys, Daddy's not coming home."
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably more the latter.
I feel like it was, right?
Daddy's
Isn't that
gone.
sad?
Yeah, it's all sad. The whole thing is sad to me.
Very curious about it. I wonder if we'll ever know.
We will never
if we'll
know.
hear from Northwest how that went down.
Do you wish you could die and come back as a fly on the wall of celebrity homes? There's so much you fill. So many gaps you fill about what really goes on.
Like the person who does like Kim Kardashian's like nails, that's like brought around with her everywhere, and is like in the room constantly, but not a fly. Yeah,
you have a strange, very interesting obsession with power, influence, and like behind the curtain, whatever's behind the curtain of what we as laypersons are presented with. You're very drawn to whatever's behind that curtain. You'd be disappointed.
No,
not that I know, but I feel like anytime I've even gotten a peek of it, it's never what you think. It's a lot more ordinary, normal, and maybe I just haven't seen the massive sex parties, but and the trafficking. But the more you peel back layers, you're like, oh, it's not as romanticized as you make it seem.
Yeah.
I haven't been in it, but I've been like adjacent to certain things, and I'm like, oh, this guy's just like as insecure and whatever as the next guy. And he's stressed.
I'm just interested in like the satanic rituals they perform to maintain their power. That's all. That's the only thing.
I hear that.
Devil's advocate. Hooah!
On that note, satanic rituals, we'll be performing one next week, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. And we'll have a goy here to explain to us the devil's advocate.
When we're going to bring the, from Bohemian Grove, what's that thing called that they all worship?
I don't remember the name. The owl. The big owl.
The big owl.
Yeah, the big owl.
That you love. You must have loved that
I
little
love that.
clip.
I wrote a screenplay about it.
Oh, okay.
We're still working on it.
How representative is that really? Or is it just like a club of people who get together and then do weird things?
I think there's something going on.
Okay. Fair enough. Agree to disagree. And we'll leave it at that.
All right.
Satanic Ritual coming next week. That's episode 46.
46.
Nice.
Yeah. What was this? 3 hours?
This was Rogan-esque.
This was good.